This is the Baseball Fury podcast, hosted by Jimmy Flame.
You're tuned to the Big Game James Show on iHeartRadio. And now your host, Mr. Big Game James, Jimmy Flame.
What's up, everybody? This is your host, Jimmy Flame, for the Big Game James Show, the Baseball Fury. There's a lot going on in the world of baseball, and we're going to talk about all of it. Coming right up. Stay tuned. And this is a very special Big Game James Show / Baseball Fury. Yeah, I know. I still haven't made up my mind yet of what to go with. And just for transparency's sake, a lot of it has to do with the fact that I keep letting iHeartRadio know that I wanted to change the name to the Baseball Fury. But I haven't heard anything back yet. So I'm going to keep rolling with both the Big Game James Show / the Baseball Fury until further notice. I hope you guys can deal with it, because that's the way it's got to be for now. And also, this is a very special show because I'm doing it, I'm recording it from the road. I'm on a road trip. I'm literally at a rest stop right now. I have no idea what the sound quality is like, as I'm using a bunch of new stuff or whatever. But you know, when I'm driving around on road trips, I do a lot of thinking, and a lot of thoughts about baseball run through my mind, and sometimes I don't have a chance to really take notes or anything, and I figured, hey, what the hell? Why not? Let's do this in real time. Let's just turn it on and go. All right? So this could be the last time. I don't know. It could be disastrous. It might be awesome. I don't know. If you want to head over to Facebook, look me up, JimmyFlame77, or on Twitter at JimmyFlame77. You want to let me know there? Awesome. If not, there is a chat function here, because this is live. You can chat with me. You have to go to the Spreaker app or the Spreaker website at Spreaker.com/ThinkSlingerMedia, and you can send me a message there. If you have a question, you can send a question there too. If I catch it, I can answer it right here live on the air. But other than that, I hope you enjoy it. This is something new for me. I just figured trying something new in the spirit of spring training. All those Major League Baseball teams try new things in spring training to see if they work out. They try out new players, etc. Well, I'm taking advantage of spring training right now in my own little version of it to try out something new. If it bombs and it sucks, guess what? I'm not doing it again. If you like it, let me know. I don't know, because I'm going to have to evaluate this on my own at some point anyway and see if I'm going to do one of these again. But for now, as you guys know, I'm also a musician, and I'm going to shamelessly plug my Spotify. Yes, all my music's on Spotify. You can go over there to Spotify, do a search on Jimmy Flame. I've got records over there. I've got music. I've got new music. I've got some old stuff. I've got some good rock and roll going on over there. And here's one of the songs that I have on Spotify. It's called Wrecking Machine. And enjoy. I hope you like it. Here we go. Me, Jimmy Flame, of course, with Wrecking Machine.
Come on, little baby, I'ma show you what you never seen. With a flask in my pocket and a little bit of jiggling, we're gonna tear it apart. I'm gonna show you I'm a wrecking machine. She got a fierce little look and an attitude to understand. We're gonna rock and roll this mama tonight all across the land. Well, I
ladies and gentlemen, that was, of course, Wrecking Machine from my Spotify. Check it out. Really helps a lot to check it out. I don't know if you're into that kind of stuff. Cool. If not, then, I don't know. I guess don't check it out. But today we're talking spring training. And the question that's been burning my head is, why are there still so many free agents available? I think I checked earlier today and there was like 60 free agents still in the market. Some of which, really good pitchers, Cobb and Lynn, and of course Arrieta. Moustakas is probably at the very top of the list as well. No one budging. I surmise it's a slow market. I mean, maybe people were gearing up for, not people. Jeez Louise, I like to speak in abstracts sometimes. Perhaps teams are waiting for next year's dynamite class. You got Machado and Harper from the Nats and the O's respectively. Free agent years, expect these guys to really blow up this year as well. I mean, they have not just their own teams to play for, but they have their futures to play for. Machado moving over to second base from third. Probably makes him a little more valuable. Bryce Harper just being Bryce Harper. He's a baller. But enough about next year. It's all about this year, right? And even though spring training games don't mean anything in terms of wins and losses, it feels real good when your team goes on a bit of a winning streak, as the O's have lately. And everyone's looking pretty good. I mean, the pitching's still a little suspect, but some of that's chalked up to pitchers trying out new things, especially in the case of Dylan Bundy of the O's. Looking pretty scary there, buddy, but apparently he's trying out some new things. And, I guess when you're trying out new things, like, things might not go your way. You can't possibly fail if you don't try, and failing is never a bad thing, especially if you can learn from it. But that's what's going on in his world. But a couple of free agents still available of note. Cobb and Lynn, of course, the pitchers are solid number 2 and 3 pitchers that could certainly help the Orioles. The rumor mill has it that the O's are interested in them. And the other part of the rumor mill is that they're just waiting for the price to come down. So it's not a matter of, with the free agency moving so slow, it's not a matter of teams getting cold feet. There's a struggle going on between, ownership groups and players, over the salaries that are being demanded. And it seems that this particular market is sufficient enough in weighing towards an owner benefit, so to speak. Owner benefit meaning that there's a lot of leverage on the owner side of things right now. And that's why these guys haven't been signed, because they're relatively inexpensive in baseball money. $11 million and $19 million, Lynn and Cobb respectively, is a lot of money to guys like you and me, and gals, like yourself. But in baseball money, that's not a ton. It's a substantial amount, don't get me wrong. But it's doable by pretty much every team out there. Especially without a salary cap, notwithstanding the competitive balance tax. Those of you who are familiar with it know exactly what I'm talking about, which is like a de facto salary cap. But, a couple of good pitchers still available. Moustakas is still available. Who knows who's going to get him? Who needs a third baseman, right? That's a big question there. Apparently no one needs one bad enough right now to bid on his asking price. But Jake Arrieta is still available. Understandably so, because he's asking for a lot of money. I think he's asking for $20 million a year. Again, with the rumor mill, Dan Duquette of the O's has lended plenty of inference that the Orioles might be interested in a one-year deal. And I was listening to Orioles Talk Radio earlier today where it was suggested that instead of offering him a long-term $20 million a year deal, heck, just get him for a year. See what happens. Offer him $27 million. See if he'll take 1 year. Because that's a lot of change right there. But again, it's baseball money. It's doable. And a guy like Jake Arrieta could sell tickets. I mean, he could be not only something that would make sense financially in terms of boosted ticket sales on days that he pitches, but he would certainly help you win games. When you're talking at the end of the season, a 4-game difference between getting the last playoff spot or not, which a lot of teams are in the running for every year, Jake Arrieta could, turn an average team into a straight-up playoff contender. Because his WAR is right there on par to, boost a team when it matters. The last place I want to see that guy go is like the Yankees or the Dodgers or a team that doesn't necessarily need a boost. You know what I mean? Like, I'm all about competition in baseball, and I would love to see the O's get him, of course. But other teams that could use his services, like the Toronto Blue Jays, despite being in the AL East, I wouldn't mind seeing it just for the competition. Seeing a deal like that go through. If anything, just to make the AL East a little more interesting than a Red Sox and Yankees race to the finish. Even sticking with the National League, of course he worked wonders with the Cubs, but think about a St. Louis Cardinals or a Cincinnati Reds. He would serve those clubs really well. But back to the O's. I mean, we're talking Camden Yards. We're talking a park that is difficult for pitchers to flourish in. Because of the symmetrics of the stadium. It's a very hitter-friendly park. But also, if you're talking like a one-year deal where you can come out and really prove to people that you got the stuff, not that Jake Arrieta really needs to do that, but if he wants to put the icing on the cake and really get a long-term deal, like, say, next year, if he came into a Camden Yards and threw some solid games and showed the league that he can go into a hitter-friendly park and still be successful, just think about what that could do with his contract, with a contract potential, rather, next year. But he's not currently thinking in terms of a one-year deal. I'm just, daydreaming about, what if we could get him for a year? Just throw him $27 million. Throw him more than he's asking, for a long-term deal. Just say, hey, we'll throw in a couple of million extra to, see if you can get us over the hump. Get us, 4 or 5 extra victories. Yeah, I know you all are saying, but the Orioles finished 17 games behind and went last place or whatever, and blah blah blah. Look, that was kind of a fluke. The Orioles went into a 16-game losing streak at a very inopportune time. I think the short-term memory sort of kicks in there, and that I think a lot of people forgot that the O's were within a game of the wild card for much of the season, and they started off the season just hot like fire. They simmered down. I mean, that's sort of the product of relying on the long ball. I mean, your batters are eventually going to get cold in droves. I mean, not in droves, but in turns. And you can't win games with home runs every time. But the Orioles certainly did make it exciting for most of the season. If you take away that losing streak, and if they're playing just over 500 ball like they were the rest of the season, notwithstanding that giant losing streak, that, by the way, included Cleveland's winning streak and some other winning streaks. It's a little more interesting. The chemistry of the season changes a little bit. They're still not in the playoffs, but they're certainly a lot closer, and that's obvious. But the morale of the team probably isn't devastated like it was. But enough of that. Let's talk Lynn and Cobb in terms of what they could bring to the Orioles. Like, they're solid 2 and 3 pitchers on any team. Number 2s and number 3s on any club. I would certainly love to see the Orioles make a move. I mean, if the Orioles could land both of them, we're comfortably a playoff team. If not, then there's a lot of ifs that need to happen to even discuss the possibility of the playoffs. But I really, really abhor discussing things in terms of ifs. I like solid solutions. And both Lynn and Cobb, even just one of them, are part of those solutions. Avoiding the ifs. That could be the theme of the next 3 weeks, because we're a third of the way through spring training, and the Orioles' offense is certainly there, but the pitching is still a little suspect. I don't mind winning games 10-8, because a win's a win. And it's hard to win a game in the major leagues. And I'll take them. But we're not going to average 10 runs a game this year. But as it stands, our team ERA just might come close to being 8. It might be just horrible. And I said this last year during these shows. And that is, we don't need superstar pitching. We just need average pitching, because we have an above average offense. We don't necessarily need Jake Arrieta. I would love him. Not only would he be a box office asset, but he'd win us games. He'd win us more games. He would add to our winning, for sure. Because the guy's lights out, and we need a guy like that. We're not going to hit 6 bombs every game and score 10 runs. And that's the thing that scares me about the Orioles, is those guys, as much as Buck talks about small ball and doing the fundamentals, I don't really see it that much. I'd be more comfortable if we could play small ball and manufacture runs, so to speak. But that's not really how the team is outfitted. We need pitchers to step up and go out there and win those 3-2 games, because they're going to happen. I'm not worried when everyone's bat goes on fire and everyone decides they're going to hit a home run that game. I'm not worried about that, because it can happen. It has happened. It will happen. We have so many weapons on offense, it's ridiculous. Everyone's talking about the Yankees and Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton and blah, blah, blah. And those are 2 players. Great. They're good. They're going to get their home runs. They're going to get their hits. If Stanton can stay healthy, he's going to put up a monster season. Judge is only going to get better. But you know what? Those are only 2 players. We got an entire offense full of players that are almost as good as those guys. And I'll take that any day of the week over a couple of guys that can do it. I'll take our offense over almost any other team out there as it stands. Even Chris Davis, who's been mired in injury and has been having trouble turning on the fastball and all that stuff. It actually scares me when the several talking heads in the baseball world, the know-it-alls, talk about his opposite field power. That's great. But if you look at the way the guy swings, he's not purposely trying to hit the other way. He has no reason to. He's hitting the other way because he can't turn on a fastball. And that probably has a lot to do with his elbow problems, his elbow issues. And I guess at the end of the day, at least he's hitting the ball out of the park. It doesn't matter where, right? But to me, that's a scary situation. It reminds me of years ago in Ken Griffey's final season when he was playing with the Mariners. That was a little bit redundant. His final season, and he was playing with the Mariners, because that was his final season. He had so much trouble turning on the fastball that he ended up retiring halfway through. Like, he just couldn't help the team anymore. And it was very admirable of him to step down the way that he did, because he was still selling tickets. People still loved seeing him play. But the Mariners at the time thought they had a shot. And he was, his swing was a problem. It became a problem. I remember seeing him in a play where he was on first base, chugging around. Who was behind him? It might have been Richie Sexton or one of those other guys that isn't even playing anymore. Someone hit a triple, and it was so funny watching Ken Griffey Jr. It was so comical. And I'm glad that Ken Griffey Jr. was laughing about it, because I was laughing about it, and a lot of people were laughing about it. How he huffed and puffed around second and third, and by the time he got home, when he slid, it was like the biggest flop you've ever seen. It was awesome. I mean, he was going for it, but his body was saying stop, and his brain was saying now, go, get home, and it was awesome. I loved it. The spirit was there. But he had such a problem turning on the fastball that his bat was just no longer scary. Pitchers knew that if they could get up there and uncork a 93 or 94 mile an hour fastball on him, that he wasn't going to turn it. If he did get a hold of it, it was an opposite field home run. More likely than not. But those became so rare that no one was really scared of his bat anymore. And I'm seeing the same pattern with Chris Davis. This is nothing against him. This has absolutely everything to do with the mechanics. His mechanics and his elbow problems. And maybe, I don't know, tough decisions, right? Maybe it's time to sit him for a while and call up Pedro Alvarez. I'm on the Pedro Alvarez bandwagon, straight up. I'm on that train. I'm on the Alvarez train. It is coming. Now, either the Orioles' strategy is to make the greatest team in AAA baseball of all time, or they're really waiting for an opportune time to call that guy up. There's so many people down there. So many people down there. Pedro Alvarez is definitely the standout. I mean, the way that guy turns on a pitch, he can hit breaking stuff. He doesn't look silly when he's batting. He's got an okay glove. He's a freaking major leaguer. It's not like he's going to be dropping balls all the time and playing like someone like me, The guy's a solid ball player, and why he doesn't have a regular spot is just beyond me. But then again, I'm just another one of the guys on iHeartRadio talking about baseball. Because I love it, not because I play it or anything like that. Hopefully bringing something different to the table as opposed to a bunch of numbers and know-it-all stats and all this crazy stuff. And I'm just giving you a straight-up guy's opinion. What I think is going on. I follow the game closely. I love baseball strategy. When it comes down to it, yeah, I am a numbers guy. But when it comes to players, talking about players, it's a little deeper than that. As you know, I don't go into the numbers too much when it comes to that stuff. There's a time and place for it. But we're talking about baseball players, guys that dream of being where they are, and they're there, and they're living, and it's really cool that we get to live vicariously through that portion of it. I think it's awesome. One of the reasons why I love baseball is because every time you see players go out on the field, it's like you get to see somebody really take advantage of an opportunity. And to me, that is really, that is exemplary of the American dream, no matter where you're from. And I think it's about time that Pedro Alvarez gets more of an opportunity. I mean, when are they going to stop just bringing this guy up for a look? You know, I'm sure he enjoys playing baseball in Norfolk, and he enjoys that he gets to play baseball for a living. But you know what? The guy's a major leaguer. Straight up. And even back when I worked in AAA baseball for a time, one of the things that I got to experience in being that close to the players and whatnot is it is amazing, like how much great talent is in AAA, and how much great talent gets overlooked. I don't know if it's a marketing thing, someone's name, consistency, or what, but I've always said this. One of the reasons why a lot of these guys are down at AAA is simply because there's just not enough room at the major league level. There's not enough spots open at the major league level to bring everybody up. Or I would say 70%. There's a percentage point for you. Is that a stat? I don't know. Probably is somewhere. Guys that should be in the majors, I'm not even going to go there. Today is not about numbers. Today is about spring training, trying something new. Again, I'm on the road. If you just tuned in, if you joined the chat, I'll get to the questions soon. I'll get to at least one question soon. Trying something new. I'm out on the road. So if it sounds funny, I don't know. I'll evaluate it later and see if it's something worth doing more in the future, or if it's something worth upping the technology, doing more in the future. But again, like I said earlier in the show, I drive a lot, and I think a lot when I drive, and I think a lot about baseball when I drive, and sometimes the thoughts are fleeting by the time I get to the recording studio to make the shows happen. And it's just like a song. It's writing a song. It's like some of the greatest songs ever written you'll never hear because the person who thought of them wasn't close enough to the technology they need to get the sounds documented. Not saying that I'm ever having any great thoughts, but I think a lot. I'm a thinking man, and I think a lot. Sometimes I don't get to document everything that goes through my mind, especially when it comes to baseball. I listen to a lot of baseball radio, and sometimes a point is made, and I have a counterpoint, and this is the medium that I use to make that counterpoint. And sometimes it's a fleeting thought because I didn't get to my technology quick enough. So if this all works out, I'll do more of these. But if it bombs, if it sounds like crap, then I'm not going to do it again. How about that? Is that fair enough? All right, to the chat. Questions. Let's see if there's anything worth answering. It's all worth answering, but maybe not necessarily on the air, because sometimes you guys are animals. Let's see here. How much of a chance do those have in landing Lynn or Cobb? I was just discussing that. I think the chances are pretty good. Dan Duquette has definitely rendered enough inference to lead us, the lay people, to believe that they're going to try, at least give it a shot, if their prices come down. Now, the longer they have to wait, the better it bodes well. The better it goes for teams in the running. If you've wondered why many teams aren't necessarily talking about it, well, there's a strategy to it. There's a political strategy to it, and that is you don't want to give the agents too much firepower. You don't want to give them too much information, because information to them is akin to evidence to a police officer. You say too much, and you're creating more charges on your own. You don't want to give them too much firepower at the negotiation table. Baseball is a business at the end of the day. Not only is it something fun for us to watch and something good for us to root for and all kinds of other things, but at the end of the day, it's also a business, and negotiations will go better in terms of the dollar spent if more people keep their mouths shut, essentially. put it into blunt terms. But the chances of the Orioles landing one of these pitchers, well, your guess is about as good as mine. But, and it comes with a big but, the Orioles organization has rendered plenty of inference, has given us enough to infer that they're going to at least make a move to get at least one of them, if not both. I'll take one more question here. Let's see. Not that one. I'll just preface, I'll just remind you that super silly questions are only answered sometimes. That's not a riddle. If you can follow the logic, then you know what that means. Why do you talk about the Orioles so much? For the love of God. You know why I talk about the Orioles so much. Because A, they're my team. I follow them more than any other team. And that's that. That's a silly question. There's your sometimes answer right there. This is a good one. Opinion on Ichiro. Okay, so I wanted the Orioles to make a move on Ichiro. Not just because he's a guy that can win ball games for you, or he could be a great utility player to bring in when you need a freaking hit, or to give someone a day off, or whatever. I mean, the guy's still a daily player in my mind, but I don't really see teams using him as a daily player. I think there's too much of a stigma on age, which sucks, but whatever. It is what it is. You can't change the minds of everyone. But his game transcends what happens on the field. Ichiro's a ticket seller. Ichiro will sell tickets. That's not the only reason you should get him. But the guy's an international superstar. People still want to see him play. Personally, I love seeing the guy play. I had the privilege of, when I lived out in Seattle, of seeing him playing plenty of times. It was just like, I love the Ichiro chants. I love his style. You know, he's kind of like that surefire softball hitter. And that is not to say that there's something wrong with his hitting, because at the end of the day, it's all about getting on base. You guys, everyone knows how much of an on base percentage guy I am. You know, as far as I'm concerned, that's the most important stat if you're talking statistics. But Ichiro's that guy that can just get on base, and he seems to do it in clutch moments. I don't care that he's older. The guy can still ball. He can still play daily. But from a strategic standpoint, the Mariners, at the end of the year, provided Ichiro passes his physical, in signing him to a one-year deal, are going to look like geniuses. Mark my words. Ichiro is going to be right in the middle of it the deeper into the season we go. Watch. Everyone's going to be like, that's such an ingenious... They're not doing it just to bring him back ceremonially. I think they think that he can still help them win ball games. And I'm right there. I mean, I think this is a big missed opportunity for the Orioles and any other team out there. But I also think it is the best fit to have the Mariners bring him out there. They love him in Seattle. Absolutely love him in Seattle. We love Adam Jones in Baltimore. It's the same thing. You know, it's just like he's a player that you just can't really picture anywhere else. But he, you know, of course, Ichiro went to the Yankees and the Marlins, and it was still cool to follow him. You know, as his lore just transcends no matter where he's at. But if there's a fit out there, it's the Mariners. And they're going to look like geniuses when it's all said and done. They're going to look awesome. And I think Ichiro is one of those guys that, I mean, that could be the tipping point for them to be you know, a serious team. You know, of course, they have Houston to deal with a number of times during the season. They're in the same division, you know, that AL West. AL West is going to be tough. You know, you got Oakland. The Rangers aren't very scary this year, but I've got this feeling that Oakland's going to be scary. Houston's, of course, going to be thrashing everybody, but I don't think they're going to run away with it like they did last year. Mark my words, though, Ichiro's a secret weapon. If he passes the physical, if he's on the regular roster this year, the Mariners are going to look like geniuses. I'm telling you. A lot of people are going to write it off as a circus sideshow, blah blah blah, end his career, emotional, heartfelt thing. No, this is a baseball decision. This is a business decision. This is a Mariners winning decision. But I think it just so happens to be one of those decisions that makes sense on all of those fronts. So congratulations to them. Congratulations to somebody for finally stepping up and snatching that guy. I think it is absolutely fantastic that Ichiro is going to play this year, and we are all going to be privileged with seeing him play another year. I would love to see that guy go out with a World Series. But that would mean the Mariners would have to win, right? And I have no problem with that. I'll just tell you that right now. If it's at the Orioles' expense, there I go again. I'm going to be mad. But at the end of the day, I'm going to be smiling. It would be one of those just awesome stories of baseball. I mean, I can't say enough about Ichiro. He's a fun player. He's a very fun player. So, with that, thanks for hanging with me. Once again, as the season gets closer, I'm going to be up in these shows. Yeah. Hopefully something happens in free agency soon. That way I got more to talk about. Hopefully it'll be positive. On a positive note or whatever. But, yeah, until next time, you guys, thank you for tuning in to the Baseball Fury, the Big Game Show. Title Indeterminate. So I can figure this thing out with iHeartRadio and all my other distributors of this wonderful show. Until next time, give me a shout on Facebook, JimmyFlame77, at Twitter, JimmyFlame77. I love each and every one of you. And I'm going to see you guys at plenty of O's games this year. So here's to a great upcoming baseball season. And, gosh, here's the free agency, free agency speeding up a little bit. I'm going to take you out with this one, all right? See you guys soon. Out from the road, baby. The Game James Show. Baseball Fury is a production of Think Slinger Media. Think Slinger Media. The home of Jimmy Flame.